Alright, I'm going to show you how to change your fuel rail here, put on all your plastics. This is our timing belt cover. It goes along with this timing belt cover on the top, and that'll come over here. Valve cover, it'll go right across the top of the valve here, and it'll take 6 bolts to put in, and I'll show you sizes and stuff here in a minute. Throttle cover, it'll go right over the top of your throttle if this is already on. Before you start working on this, just take it out with one T25 piece here, and it'll take one time to screw it out. And make sure you keep your screws in a good place so you don't lose them as you're doing it. Alright, we're going to start here with your fuel rail. First thing you need to do before you do anything on any car is to make sure you take your 8mm or 10mm and remove your positive terminal on your battery, which is just unscrew it, set it to the side of the battery, make sure it's not touching this terminal. You can leave your negative on, that way there's no power, no electric current through any of this at all. Next thing you're going to do is come through here. If your rails should already be off, and I'll show you how to put that on in a minute. And there's these little buttons here. You can come in here, showing the little metal clips right there. And we're going to go through and push down the metal clip and pull them out. Some of them might take a little wiggling to get off. Make sure you push them all the way in. Use 2 hands, 1 finger down here. Push all the way in and pull right up here on this part. The less you twist these, it'll be better, but it won't hurt anything to twist them. Alright, set this to the side, out of the way. I almost hit my charge there, so make sure you don't touch anything between this. I'll mention this, I don't know your car knowledge, but never make a connection from your positive to your negative. So don't come over here and go, oh no, and drop this on here, because if you put a connection between the positive and negative, all that battery current's going to go through this wrench. So be very careful not to set anything over there. I usually put all my bolts, screws, and tools right over here on the side. Again, with your 10mm. Oh, sorry, hold on. One thing first. See these are your fuel lines. When these come off, they're going to drip a little fuel. It's nothing to worry about. Don't try and sling it up over here. Just try and keep it and let it run down past the intake here. So you're going to put this in. Either a screwdriver or 7mm socket will work on that. And you just unscrew this. And pull that off. Did you see that little gas coming out there? That'll happen. It's nothing to worry about. Alright, your next 2 tools you're going to need. It's your 17 and 14mm wrench. If you look here, there's 2 of these. There's one on the bottom, one on the top. Right here and here is where you want to put your wrenches, and you want to take them opposite to each other. Remember, right's tight, left is loose. Try not to twist this as you do it. me see. Did you see once you break that apart, it should be able to hand twist off. And twist that all the way up. And then make sure this fuel line piece comes right off there. You see how that went right on there? We're gonna use that later to put the next one on. Alright, that's your fuel. It's all disconnected. Next thing we got is your rail. It's held in by these two bolts. See them both here? Just gonna take them off with a 10mm socket or a wrench, whatever you have. Like I said before, your car might look a little different. It has an actual airbox over here.
No. Yeah, it's the same thing.
Okay, pardon me. It may have an actual airbox, but I hear you have the same thing over here. You might have your trim here, your trim here. We're not sure, but we're going to show you how to put it all on here in a minute. As soon as I get this off and replace it with a new one. That's what I'm missing. Alright, once again, put your bolts over here where they're safe, making sure you don't lose them or misplace them. Nice and easy, pull it out. See these little gaskets here, a couple of them came off with it. Make sure you take those off, place them right back in the holes. See this? That's one without the gasket, that's one with the gasket. They'll be right here. Make sure you don't do what I just did and drop it down in the car. I'm gonna have to find that. Alright, this hose right here is your next thing you need to take off. It'll look different on each rail. We have a different hose here. Yours should look like this one right here. That's a little white hose with a rubber piece on it. Pardon me. And we're going to put that thing on here in a second. If it's a zip tie on here, be very careful right here with this tree. This thing right here, it's a plastic tree and it has, I want to say, 5 little off sprouts on it. You want to make sure it's on the top rear off sprout, and if there's a zip tie on it, you don't want to use your clippers and twist because you're going to break this tree really easy. It's a plastic tree. Out once again, putting this in here. If you have a zip tie on there, sometimes Nick does that. Make sure you're very careful to clip that off there and pull straight out. Do not twist, do not turn, because once again you will break that tree and it will take you a little time to get a new tree back. Okay? We have a zip tie on there because this little piece of rubber is not sized for the vehicle we have. It did not come in stock with the vehicle. But this one, on the other hand, we will not have to zip tie because it is the stock one. Alright, now we're going to put on your covers for your timing belt. We're going to start with this piece. It's going to go right under your fuel lines. We're going to do this next. So your fuel lines here don't get in your way. They need to be loose so this can fit under there. I'm going to start by placing the side with your bolts, which will go in this hole right here. and the other one straight across. Your bolts should already be in the holes, so you just have to pull them out and put this on there as such. As you see right here, that can get caught on the front and the back, so make sure it's on the far side, on the front and the back, and it fits in there snugly. As you see right here, there's a little divot. Your next piece is going to connect right into that divot. There's one on each side. Obviously you can't see it from here. Alright, so you're going to take your 10 millimeter again on an extension. Makes it a little easier to put in. And you're just going to tighten it down in there. Remember, this has to be done before the fuel rail goes on.
Lines. Lines.
Alright, next you're going to put in your cover. And just like the divots are, there's two clips here. Kind of have to jiggle it down in there. Careful not to break it, it's very easy to break. It should snap right onto the other one and make a good seal across here. And we take our special looking bolt here. Where are we going? It's a little threads on the front. And if you look right down in here, you're going to have a hole right between the two labels here. And you're just going to put that down. And hand tighten that in there just a little, make sure it's threaded. Sometimes it doesn't go in all the way and you got to jiggle it around to put it all the way in. Take off your extension, put on a 12 millimeter, and you're just going to tighten that in. Make sure it's hand tight, don't over tighten your bolts, otherwise you can cause problems, strip threads, etc., etc., etc. Last thing we're going to do here is the valve cover. Should slide right under your pipe over here. Make sure you don't get the spark plug wires caught underneath it. And it'll go right under the wires, and once again it'll connect into the first piece we put in. Should have 6 of these bolts around. It is a T27 torque. Put that on your ratchet. Again, I like to use the extension on the ratchet with the T27 torque and go across, making sure these get threaded in. They should go in quite easily. If they're kind of tight when you're putting them in, you might not have them threaded right. And you should go across and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the 6th one's behind the pipe. Once that's done, you can finish putting in the fuel rail and we'll show you how to do that here in a minute. Once again, careful not to drop your gaskets. A little clumsy. Make sure they're all in there nice and tight. And when you install your fuel rail, it should look like, are we giving them one like that? Yeah. But you're gonna come over here first and make sure this gets on there. It should just slide on nice and easy. And it should go in just like that. Just press it down there. Make sure it doesn't come up here and touch the engine. We don't want the heat melting the plastic here. And place these back in there. Make sure you get them all lined up with the holes before you push. You're just going to give it a little push to get in there. And line up your screws back down here. You want to screw these in. And you're going to go across, connect all your pieces. Slide this down on there. Once again, lining up those two pieces, screwing it on. I've replaced the fuel rail, making sure not to break my tree once again over here. Top, rear on the tree for your plug-in, however it looks. Zip tie is not necessary if you have a stock plug-in, which I've already showed you a couple times here. Now we're going to come over here and put back in our fuel lines. They should just slide right down on there. And again, right here, we're going to tighten this up with either a 7mm socket or a screwdriver. Personally, I like a screwdriver. And remember, it's right tight. Get that as tight as you can get it. That way we don't have any leakage. Make sure when you're placing this fuel rail in, you shake it a little bit. Make sure it gets all the way in. All the lines do. Make sure this plug, the screw right here, stays exposed so future techs can work on it and reach the thing. Otherwise you have some unhappy people yelling at your car one day. Alright, next thing, this little bevel where they bevel the end of the fuel line. It's going to go right over the cap. We're just going to hand tighten that down as far as we can. Pardon me. Kind of. Make sure that it's lined down. You might have to push a little pressure here to get it in line to actually go on. That's why we're hand tightening it so you don't strip the lines. Again, you're 14 and 17, 14 on the bottom. That way you don't twist your line. 17 across the top. And you want to do it right tight. Make sure you give that a nice little tug so once again you don't leak some more fuel out of there. Moving on.
Put these back.
Last thing, putting in your electric. 5 clips across here. Nice and easy. Make sure you push in the button so you don't damage anything.
You'll hear it click.
And wait until you go down and you won't hear it click. They should all go in. If you're pushing the button, you won't hear a click. If you don't push the button, you'll hear a little click as it snaps in. Next thing, with our T25, we're going to take out that screw we put in right here. And you're going to get your cover out here. And you see how that should line up right there? That's where we're going to place this cover. here, the car started just fine. It started right up. We got all our connections connected. You want to look here, here, and here. Once again, make sure there's no leaks, nothing draining out. Let it run for a couple minutes. Make sure you're getting gas into the line, and you should be set